Hey guys, welcome back to another Ignis video. Today we're going to cover surfaces. So if you haven't watched our patches tutorial from the previous release, go back and watch that because you're going to need the basic file or an understanding of what happened there in order to use this tutorial. This one's going to get a bit complicated, guys, but don't worry, we'll work it through step by step. After it, you're going to be an absolutely legend of a patcher creator and you're going to save yourself a million hours. Trust me, an absolute million hours. For those of you just joining us, we've just made a patcher system, and what we're going to do today is we're going to create our own control surface because we don't want to keep opening up each one of these individual patches that we've got physically running at the moment. We want to be able to control them all from a centralized location and not have to rely on having to switch between this, that and the other before we have to get to what we need. Again, just all after that, saving time, making our process as smooth and as quick as possible. Let's start out by loading our patcher up, and then looking at the top left hand side, you're going to see two buttons. You're going to see map, which is the one we've been working with currently, and you're going to see surface. Now surface is going to allow us to create our GUI system in order to be able to connect to the different controls within the patcher that we've created and allow us to really start to manage our projects a lot easier. So there isn't really a great deal to this, guys. What you've got is you've got your plus button. This is going to allow us to add the different controls, settings, labels, all this kind of stuff that we want to physically add. The finger button or the click button in the top right hand side is going to allow us to pretend that we're physically using it and allow us to click everything. By selecting it, you'll see that the addition buttons go away. This means that we're in physical mode. So if you can't see those buttons, just go ahead and click that. Those buttons are going to reappear. Obviously the wrench button allows us to adjust things when we need to, or even enter sort of like edit mode if you like. Okay, first things first, as we said before, we need to label everything, guys. There's going to be so much information here, we don't want to lose track. So the first thing we're going to do is click on the plus. We're going to head on down to label, select whichever one we want. We can create a custom one if we want, but for this instance, I'm just going to go ahead and select default. Boom, there it is. Rename the label whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to label it Ignis Music Preset, and we're good to go. While I'm doing this preset label here, guys, don't forget, if you haven't checked out the website, please go over there and check that out as well if you haven't done so already. See you over there, guys. If you want to play around with how it looks, you can right click on it, change the color, the style, the size, all those kind of things. Next up, we're going to need some kind of switch or dial or button or anything that we want in order to change a setting. In this case, we're going to go ahead and load in a dial. So you're going to click the plus, you're going to head on down, in this case to knob, and then you're going to select whichever one that you physically want. So once we've got a dial looking the way we want it, we're going to go ahead and call it wet dry, and then we're going to head and route the controls to it. For this, we're going to need to head on over to our map and then create two additional Fruity Balance plugins and route the processed sounds to one of them and the dry main to the other. Renaming them each in turn, and we're all set up. Okay, now the really hard bit. What you're going to want to do is you're going to right click on each of the Fruity Balance and you're going to select input, and then parameters, and then volume. If you've been successful, what you should see is a new dial on the left hand side in red. We're going to need that soon. First up, we want to set up a final Fruity Balance. We're going to route the output of the two previous Fruity Balance to this new Fruity Balance, and then we're going to finally set up an envelope to turn one up or one down based on the input that we provide. To do this, we're going to right click, we're going to add controller, Fruity XY controller. Then we're going to right click on the controller. We're going to go down to inputs, then parameters. We're going to select X level, then back in again and select Y level. We're going to see two red dots appear on the left hand side to let us know we've done it correctly. And we're going to go right click again. We're going to go outputs, controllers, X, and then Y. Then we're going to connect each one of these red dots on the right hand side of the XY controller to the inputs of the balances we set before. So one to wet, one to dry, after the fruity balance, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to add a formulation control. So you're going to right click and you're going to go across to your controllers and then add a formula controller. There we go, right there. So what we want to do is we want to add our inputs and outputs to this. As we did before, we're going to right click on it and then we're going to add an input. A will do is, and then we're going to add an output. Okay, here we go. So what we're going to do is from one of the two on the right, we're going to connect the red line through this new device here to our other fruity balance. Excellent, cool. So what we need to do is we're going to double click on this, and this is going to bring up some options. In the top right hand side, you're going to see some presets, and you're just going to hit left until you see the word invert. Okay, and then we're going to go back to our surface, in the top left hand side. There should be a red dot here. Now if you hover over it, it'll say wet dry, because that's the control we've set up, and we're going to drag that to each control on the left hand side. If everything has been successful, you should be able to hit your XY controller, which will bring up the menu, then head on over to surface, and now adjusting the control knob should adjust your XY controller's variables. And with that, guys, congratulations is in place. You've actually set up one of the most advanced systems that you're going to need to in order to really get yourself started. These mixers will allow you to activate or deactivate based on a control. As you've seen before, we can right click, we can access the outputs from each one of these things, and we can see exactly what we can change. We just need to link that up to a control surface, exactly how we want, passing it through a mixer or some sort of system in order to set up how we wanted to change it, and then pass it directly through to the device. It sounds a little bit complicated, I know, but it all depends on what you physically want to do. But these devices are great and are a great way for you to start out. You can add mute buttons by adding 100% signal before it, inverting the signal and dropping the volume before this mixer, and all kinds of some great stuff, guys. It just depends on how detailed that you want to go. It really, really does. But I hope you have fun with this method. We are going to continue with another tutorial. We're going to add some more services. We're going to add some more controls, some more plugins, and then also add more controls to those to the service as well. So don't forget, guys, we are going to be giving away these patches as free files. If you want them, check out the comments below, and we will see you all again soon. Bye bye.